And welcome to Technology Tab. This is Professor JRod. Today's topic is going to be on social engineering. What exactly is social engineering? Why is it so effective? And what steps can we take to mitigate it? Let's get to it. All right. Thank you for joining me on this podcast. I knew you guys, the last episode, I promised you a special guest star, but could not get him, to confirm for the show. So, my apologies for that. Maybe I should have not announced it. I didn't announce the name, so I wasn't really giving it away. But, just so that you know, even when you get older, people still disappoint you. So, I'm hoping to get them back, on. If not, we just move on and I'll try to get someone else for you guys to listen to and get some advice from. But you would really like this guy. A lot of my students know who he is. They've seen him in my class. All right. Today's topic is going to be about social engineering. So, what exactly is social engineering? Social engineering is a means of gathering information for an attack by relying on the weakness of the individual. Social engineering has nothing to do with trying to get inside the computer. Your focus on is on the individual themselves. Now, there's a great show that they have on TV. Um, it's called Leverage, and actually, they have a revival of it on IMDb. And that whole show, it's all about social engineering. It's a good show. You should watch it. It used to be on TNT many years ago, but it you know they you know they canceled it. Now they brought it back. Social engineering attacks involved psychological approaches as well as physical. Psychological approaches, what their goals is to persuade the victim to provide information or take action. Attackers use a variety of techniques to gain trust without moving quickly. They provide a reason, they project confidence, use evasion and diversion, make people laugh. Psychological approaches often involve impersonations, phishing, spam, hoax, and watering hole attacks. Impersonation, attacker pretends to be someone else. Maybe they could be somebody from the help desk, repair person, your manager, the CEO, right? Attackers will often impersonate a person with authority because as humans, we generally are scared to say no to anybody in power, especially at work. We don't want to get fired. So they use that against us. Phishing, I use phishing attacks, phishing, sending an email, right? When we all get them every day. Netflix's account is closed or your Amazon account is closed. Sending an email claiming to be from a legit source tries to trick users into giving private information, right? The variation on phishing attacks are spear phishing, whaling, and vishing. Spear phishing is when it targets specific users. Whaling is when it targets the big fish of the company, the CEO, the COO, the CTO. And vishing, we all get this every day, is the one when they call us and they say, "Oh, you have a credit card. Press one to speak to to get 0% interest," and it's not. It's not that. It's someone who's trying to steal your credit card information. About 97% of all attacks start with phishing. I actually knew a student of mine. Her job was impersonation. She worked for a security company, and her job was to try to get as many doors, as many floors as you can. And that was her job. And she used to say the biggest weakness is men. That's what she used to say, because she used to get all dressed up and get all pretty for the guys to open the door. She says, guys, guys are suckers for pretty face. So she used to get in. She said she used to get stopped more by women than guys, because guys just wanna, they just wanna help her. All right, spam. Spam is unsolicited emails. Primary vehicles for distribution of malware. You sending spam. It's a big business. It costs spammers very little to send millions of spam messages, and they could make a lot of money. But nowadays they have filters for the most part that block it. They do a good job. I think Google does a good job. Outlook, but Google does. Image-based spam uses graphical imaging of text in order to circumvent these filters. Often contains nonsense text, so it appears legit. And now, this. What if it's possible to get local fresh groceries delivered right to your front door? You can go to the gym in that free time. Well, Instacart gives unlimited grocery delivery for one low monthly fee. Way better than the other guys who nickel and dime you to death every time you use their app. Forget that one ingredient to make sancocho? Instacart can deliver it to your front door in as little as 1 hour. You can shop multiple stores, see deals in the area so you can save money, and every item is hand selected according to your preferences. No more green plátanos when you wanted yellow ones. And they keep your eggs safe too. To start your 14-day trial, please click the link in the show notes to let Instacart know that we sent you and to help support the show. Instacart. Never set foot in a grocery store again. Next, we have hoax. Hoax are false warning, usually claiming to come from the IT department or some kind of other type of department like the government. Attackers try to get victims to change configuration settings on the computer that will allow the attacker to compromise the systems. Attacker may also provide a telephone number for the victim to call for help, which will put them in direct contact with the attacker. Watering hole attack, which is a malicious attack that is directed towards a small group of specific individuals who visit the same website. Example, major executives working for a manufacturer company may visit the same website every day, such as a part supplier, right? So they take that website and they hack it. So when you go there, they steal it. Two of the most common physical procedures of social engineering is dumpster diving and tailgating. Dumpster diving is going through your trash, right? And try to find anything, bank account number, credit card number, right? An electronic variant of that is called Google dorking, when it's used to use Google search engine to look for documents and data about you posted online. There's another thing called tailgating, when you're following an employee once, through the access door. Employee could conspire with an authorized person to allow to walk in with him, and this is a subset of tailgating called piggybacking. Watching an unauthorized user enter security code, right, and then you follow him in, is called shoulder surfing. So how do we combat some of this stuff? Right? There's a couple of ways. One, with phishing, you know, use common sense, right? Or impersonation. Use common sense. So, for example, somebody once, when I worked in tech, somebody called me and told me, "Hey, can you change my password?" And I said, "Okay." I thought it was weird that somebody calling me asking me to change my password, because if they were in the office, they would just ask somebody to send a help request, right? To send a ticket saying so and so needs their password reset. So he called me. So I asked, "Hey, are you at the office? I'll call you back." And the guy in the other line said, "No, I'm at home. Let me give you my number." And I said, "Nope, I got it." And I hung up. I looked in the directory, the office directory, found his number, called him. He didn't pick up. Turns out they were testing to see if we would change the password for the person without verifying who they are. So always verify, right? If in doubt, verify. They actually did it to another office, and that person changed the person's password without checking. So that was a ding, right? You always, you always want to verify. For the phishing attacks, well, there's, like I said, Outlook does a decent job. Google does a phenomenal job with, these type of emails. But if you don't know who it's from, don't click on it. That's how you fight it, right? And if you get a notification, for example, for spear phishing, they one of the places that I work, they targeted only the students, right? Because in some schools they have like I work at one school where it's the college name and for everyone, and then there's the mascot dot school name for the students. So if you're spearfishing, you may only want to spearfish, the mascot dot the school name because that's those are students only. Well, I had one school where they did that when they went and targeted the students. Fortunately, one of the students asked, "Why are they asking us to change the password?" And they were like, "Oh wait," and then they checked, and then they found out that it was a spear phishing attack. Now they in that school they have two-factor authentication because of that. And another thing that works is user training. Train your users on what to look out for. That way they don't fall for these tricks. And with the vishing, I mean, come on. If they're asking you for vehicle warranty, just hang up, right? That's the best thing you can do, right? Don't answer the phone. So for spam, like I said, Google and Outlook do a pretty good job. At work, they usually have like another third party that helps with that too. So I think spam they've done a good job. But again, if it doesn't look authentic, don't click on it. For hoaxes, I mean, make sure that it comes from a reputable source, right? If Facebook puts out a warning, I would be very, you know, I'll take it with a grain of salt. But don't rely on social media, to say that some impending doom is going to happen, right? Try to get it from reliable sources. And the watering hole attack, well, you just got to make sure that vendors who you do business with, you know, follows all the procedures of any company that wants to protect itself and protect its website, right? Make sure that you go with a vendor that is doing that. Now, dumpster diving, to protect yourself against dumpster diving, shred your stuff. You can shred it, and then a lot of people recommend that after you shred it, you burn it, right? That way, because shredding, if you have a lot of patience and a lot of tape, you could, put the papers back together. So it's better if you shred it and then burn it. Tailgating, in order for you to, effective way to mitigate tailgating is by having like a man door, a man trap, right? One door opens, you go in, that door closes, and then the second door opens, right? That way you can see if there's somebody behind you, right? If somebody behind you, then you don't open the second door, right? You confront, you ask the person to identify themselves, or you could put turnstiles, right? You swipe in, you need an ID to swipe in. That person can't really piggyback behind you, right? That's another way you can do that. They talked about shoulder surfing. Hide your, when you're putting in an access code, try to hide it with your hand. They also talk usually shoulder surfing. They also use it in reference to like using your computer and somebody looking over your shoulder. Well, if you could put a privacy screen on it, that would help mitigate shoulder surfing. And yeah, and that's it. That's social engineering in a nutshell. But like I said, if you really, really want to learn social engineering, check out that show Leverage. I know my other students have mentioned other shows, but this is the one that I know. I think it's on Netflix, but the new episodes are IMDb. All right, thanks everyone for listening to me on this podcast. We'll see you next time. This has been a presentation of Little Chacha Productions, art by Sarah, music by Joe Kim. If you want to reach me, my email address is ProfessorJRod@gmail.com.